ever feel like the universe is low-key messing with you? Like no matter what you do, nothing is clicking. Everything feels like an uphill battle and you're this close from throwing in the towel. Hey, I have been there, and honestly, we all have. So if you're feeling stuck, whether it's in your career, your relationship, your goals, or just in life in general, this episode is for you because today we are breaking down 4 powerful steps to help you shake off the stuck energy and actually start moving forward right now. These are the exact strategies I use as a runner, entrepreneur, and as a coach when I hit those walls, and it really helps me feel better and move along. Straight up makes me feel unbreakable. And let me tell you, there is a way through this. Welcome to another episode of Embers Rising. I'm your host, Wendy J., your adventure-loving Go Big Home host. And alongside me is my incredible co-host, David Tucker.
I get to announce myself. All right. We're never sure.
Oh, we're never sure.
Or am I supposed to say who I am myself? I don't know.
And if you don't know us,
I'm stuck.
If you don't know us, we are all about pushing limits, chasing dreams, and helping you actually build a life that lights you up. That's why we have Embers Rising. And listen, this isn't your typical think positive pep talk here. We are going to give you real strategies, real talk, and maybe a little tough love because, let's be honest, sometimes we all need it. So if you're ready to get unstuck and start moving like your life depends on it, this episode is for you. Let's get into this because no one likes to be stuck.
And are we talking about stuck or are we talking about the F word?
We're doing both. So, and people are like, what's the F word? So, quick training update, or story update, life update. Where you at, Dave?
Well, I am now focusing on swimming for my Ironman, and I am going to move into the joining a coach. I think I'm just going to merge into the slow lane with the Masters swim at where we go, because sometimes it's the only way to get in the pool at a decent time. They're just like,
right.
Everybody who has turned 50 has decided my partying days are over. Now I got to run a marathon or an Ironman.
Okay, well, listen, let's break this down. Listen, David's got a half marathon coming up next month in April. You're doing a half marathon, which is supposed to be the hardest.
It's not a half marathon.
Half marathon.
It's torture fest where you run uphill all day long.
I was trying
you get to the top, and then you get to descend all of that climb in a mile.
Picture a mountain, my friends. So this half marathon literally goes straight up a mountain and straight down. It's just up and straight down. That's it. It's like a big V.
It goes up gradually for like
5 miles,
11 miles,
7
right?
miles,
from
whatever
the
it is.
parking lot, and then it goes
straight down.
Imagine it going up, 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 and then down.
Straight down, yeah.
And where everybody ends up
blistered with their toes
is the downhill because people don't train for that.
Yeah, the downhill kills you. So anyway, all right, yeah, he's got the half Ironman next month, and then or half marathon, next month, and then the Ironman is in, I want to say July, was it? June, July?
It's July 26th.
Okay, so
Put it on your calendar. It's a week after your birthday.
Please come join us and support Dave. That's great.
I hope there's leftover birthday cake for the finish line.
I have been with my training in PT right now, working on my runner's gait and my feet. My friends, if you've been following my journey since day one, I've had issues with my feet, I don't know, since last year's start of the race, and then it was like all year. So I'm working on my running gait. I had a video yesterday of myself on the Blue Turf Stadium. It was pretty cool out there. Boise Blue Turf. You got to love that.
Oh, you better show a little.
Yeah, I'll show it right here. I'm pointing to it on the YouTube video, so if you catch it, you see me running out here on the blue turf working with one of my PTs out there with the running gate. I have an incredible coach that's working me through. Have not committed to a race. I have a couple of races that are on the docket right now, but I haven't made the click mark check like pay now. And I also know that Dave and I are working on committing to the Grand Canyon rim to rim to rim. So we're kind of lining that up for a fall trip here.
Oh, that's happening. It's just not happening in the spring because the water doesn't seem like it's going to get turned on.
I know they're still having some issues over there.
They're putting in a whole new pipeline on the south side that comes down.
Bright Angel.
The Bright Angel Trail.
Yeah.
I'm glad you. Thank you for that catch.
Yeah.
I was like, I was searching for the name somewhere. I know it's back
It's
there.
good that we know each other so long. So, quick recent launches for us. We would love it and invite you into our Get Cadence group in Instagram. That's the group where Dave and I go live every week. We have what we call Ohana Vibe sessions, where we're talking about communication for your audience, talking about marketing systems and processes. So that is a really fun group to get into. We're also launching the Cadence to Peak Challenge, which goes on a deeper dive for 5 days. We would love for you to join that. We will put both these links in the show notes below. Yeah, and then we had our podcast release, which was the Podcast Launchpad and Podcast Mastery, which we will also put in the show notes below if you're interested and you are a podcaster or know someone is who wants to scale. It is not about tech, lighting, mics, equipment. It is all about the workflow behind an audio and video podcast like what we're doing here, and it's how we learned with our team on how to very, very streamline and get efficient with your episodes. So anyway.
Because in the podcast world, shooting the podcast, this is the easy part.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Sitting down and doing an episode
once
is great.
we're done with the episode, I mean, once you figure out the gear and all of that,
Yeah.
there are hours of organizational stuff
Yeah.
that goes on, from editing to distribution to, I mean, everything in between. And if you don't have a system, it's a bit of a mess, right?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, a Google Sheet is not a system.
Yeah, and it does take a while. So, I mean, our team, like if you have not seen a good YouTube video come out in a while, it's because our team is still working on those. They were backlogged for quite a while. And if you've been to our YouTube channel and say, hey, where's your recent episode? It takes these guys probably a week to get in there. And they are very systematic. They'll do audio first, they'll cut our YouTube, and then they'll go straight into shorts.
And we're helping them have a better system.
Right,
Because they're
yeah.
just video editors.
Right, so we've actually helped them create a system. It's great. So anyway, all right, that is our life update. Let's give out some listener love here and some shout outs, because before we dive in, listen, let's give a massive shout out to you. Yes, you. The fact that you are here means you're ready for change, and that is the first step. So whether you're listening to this from your car, your morning walk, or hiding in your bathroom to get a minute of peace, we see you. Parents, we understand it. We're so glad you're here. Let's dive into some shout outs, Dave. And I have a couple pulled up.
I hope it's my fan club.
It is, yeah. So I had a post that went out called "The Truth Staring Back at You," and I was like staring at a mirror doing my hair. And Our.Whereabouts says, "Such a powerful reflection. It's amazing how much growth happens when we keep showing up, even when it feels like we're not making huge strides." This is actually in perfect alignment with today's episode. Inspired by life events says, "We are becoming such a great mindset." Jason Palvana says, "It's about staying in motion." Yes. Victoria says, "It's all about improving a little each day." Anna Ali says, "You're great." I feel the same way when I look in the mirror. I see the past, present, and the one thing I'm aiming to become in the future. Samuel, I know I've talked to you, Samuel. You are from LinkedIn. I believe we have DM'd. He says, "Stay in motion, not perfection." So there we go. One other one we had was a LinkedIn carousel that went out, said, "What if you failed and what if you didn't?" Another great, how does our project manager line this up for these episodes? I do not program this, my friends. This is amazing. So I want to say Athena Collective says, "We've all had those moments where quitting sounds nice, but sticking with it is where the real magic is." Love this reminder. Lee Moore Markman says, "The journey to your dreams is so challenging. Be resilient, courageous, unwavering. It's worth it." Victoria says, "It's better to go all in than to always wonder what if." I agree, Victoria. Thank you. And Victor Sandkin says, "Success isn't about avoiding failure. It's about pushing through it. The ones who keep showing up despite setbacks are the ones who make it keep going." I couldn't have picked these shout outs, Dave, better for this episode. That is crazy.
I think you've revealed what the F word is. I
Yes.
just want to say, in your notes there,
Yes.
we need to do an episode called "It's Time to Quit," right? Because sometimes, like, there is a time to quit. And I know we all have this like positive mindset, and all of those
Right,
comments
yeah.
reflect it, like, keep going, keep pushing, keep doing.
Sometimes,
and
though,
sometimes you got to sit back and you're just like, no, that's done.
no, I agree with that. Yeah.
Like, that's done.
We're done
and
with
we're
that.
moving on.
Yeah.
But that's another episode.
Right, agree. Well, let's dive into this, because really this is how do you get unstuck when life feels impossible. And I want to break it down for these 4 powerful steps. And the number one lesson I wrote in here, and we're going to talk story on this, is you have to be willing to accept where you are, and but don't stay there. right? So the first step in moving forward is to stop fighting reality. When something is unfair or painful or unexpected happens, or an instinct is often to resist it, this shouldn't be happening. You're just saying, this shouldn't be happening, right? Quote unquote. But the truth is, no matter the amount of resilience that you have, the amount that changes what's already in motion, instead of wasting energy denying reality, use the energy to decide what happens next. Now, I wanted to grab some research on this, and science backs this up. I have pulled this up. A UC Irvine study on collective trauma found that people who accepted difficult realities rather than denying or resisting them had better long-term mental and physical health. And this is talking about 9/11. So the health status and healthcare utilization following collective trauma, a 3-year national study of 9/11 terrorist attack in the United States. That was backed up by UC Irvine study there. So when we're talking about stepping up and feeling the impossible, the key takeaway here is acceptance doesn't mean approval. It means shifting from resistance to action. And the sooner you stop fighting where you are, the sooner you can start moving where you want to be. Because what you're talking about is you may need to actually quit something that you may not want to go further into. And you're saying new episode. Let's just pull this into this right now. We're talking about failures, but we're also complementing this with the fact that your failure could mean that you need to quit something and move to the next thing.
It could be.
I don't know.
Here's the interesting thing, right? And there's this thing called confirmation bias. We've all heard this, right?
Absolutely.
And so the more you tell yourself something like, I'm failing at this, I'm failing at that, whatever it is, the more your mind automatically looks at it and confirms that it's actually the truth. Whereas if you reverse that, right, and say, I'm just struggling, but I'm going to get there, then the mind actually works and you'll have more success. It's really the key to this thing that's so popular now called manifesting, right? And manifesting is really just reprogramming your confirmation bias towards where you want to go. And the thing about sometimes quitting, right, is whatever it is not getting you there, and you keep pushing at it, and that confirmation bias kicks in, and you're like, you just have to say, where am I going with this anyway, right? Maybe just pulling the plug would open up the space for the real thing that I wanted to have happen be available.
For sure.
I hope that makes sense.
It does, yeah. And Dave and I have been there. I mean, we've had projects that come through with clients, and we've gone all in on it, and we know that possibly, like, even in the midway, it's not the right direction for us, and it's going to go deeper and deeper, and we've just had to cut the project off and move to the next thing
a few times. And that happens. That happens in
100%.
To everybody.
Yeah.
It's interesting how this episode came about.
Yes.
So, just like I said, that would be a great episode.
Yes.
Wendy is in her office and I'm in my office, and she says, we need ideas for the next podcast. And I immediately said, failure. Right? Let's have a podcast on failure. And the way that came about is we had just come from lunch, and you're struggling with some foot issues,
a hamstring,
some other things.
Yeah.
And as you walked up the stairs after lunch, I heard you say the F word 3 times, right? Like, I'm failing at this, I'm failing at this, I'm failing at this. And then you went in your office. What should the topic be? I'm like,
failure.
Let's just talk about failure. Let's talk about what's real and what's on our minds, what's going on in our lives. Because no matter what sort of positive mindset warrior you are, that's just not, you're not always going to be in that space, right? You got to capture yourself out of it and consciously say, I got to lift myself up and move in a more positive direction.
It's true. And I have something really powerful to share. Once I dug down into this topic and really started researching failure, I realized that it only lasts for 90 seconds, and you can shift your mindset on this. And I want to deep dive into that, but not quite yet, because I really want to roll back into your action step here when we're talking about resistance. Is asking yourself what you are resisting right now. Is it in alignment with your dreams, your legacy, your goals? Instead of trying to change the past, focus on what you can control right now at this moment. Is it a real failure, or are you just controlling at the moment? So for me, I've been struggling with my hamstring and my feet for running. I now have a coach, and it does mentally feel like, oh my gosh, I go through the mindset of, well, she could choose another athlete on a roster. It could be better. It doesn't have to be me. Am I just failing at this? And yet I shared this with my coach the other day, and she says, I would have you know that I have 2 athletes right now that have had surgery, nothing to do with running, that have had surgery, and I'm still coaching them through. So it's not a matter of feeling a failure. It's just a matter of getting perspective and you yourself changing that mindset. You're like, okay, I'm not a failure.
And being conscious about that, right? Because it's some ridiculous number of thoughts humans have every day. And
oh my gosh.
Is it 10,000 or 100,000? I know Dr. Amen said it.
Yeah.
I missed it. But here's the takeaway from that. About 99.9% of everything you think is not true, right? And so that's a perfect example. You're going through like, why would she want me? Basically is the core emotion I feel from that story.
Yep.
Even though I'm an athlete, why would she want this athlete on her roster because I have these issues? And she's like, she looks at your dad and she's like, you're friggin' awesome, right? Like, I've never met an athlete that didn't have an issue.
Yeah. No, actually, that was a good upper. Speaking of, she pulled back some of my runs on Training Peaks. Training Peaks is a software that allows us to share our training together through my Garmin watch. And she showed me some stuff that I've been working on, some of my last week's runs, and there was a lot of positive that came out of that. So it did make me feel better. But like I said, it's a perspective, right? Now, had I looked at that myself and said, could I read that? Could I actually go back? Am I a failure as an athlete? No, I'm not. But I am still new at reading those kind of graphs and charts. I'm like, well, I'm not really sure what that is. She's like, hey, I just look at IF. I'm like, what the heck is IF? Oh, intensity factor. Okay,
I'm
I got
a failure.
That.
That's what it stands for.
Instant failure.
Right. Your IF level is high. Oh, shit, I knew it.
I knew it. Okay, moving on. So we want to also, when I dug into this, it was all about shifting your focus. When you're having those failure moments and you're feeling like quitting and the impossible and, is just there, or when you're like stuck, it's easy to get overwhelmed thinking about everything that needs to change. That's when overthinking, kicks in your brain. And instead of making progress, you just sit there feeling paralyzed. And the secret is to stop focusing on the big picture and take one small step at a time. And science also backs this up. When I pulled something from a study from the Journal of Positive Psychology, found that people who removed toxic relationships and environments experienced higher levels of personal growth and emotional well-being. So true. So true. I completely agree with that. Many, many years when I was stuck living at my mom's house, I did not want to be there living at my mom's house. I had a dream to live in Hawaii so many years ago. I had pictures on the wall. I really wanted to be there. I felt so stuck in everything I was doing. I was actually working for Russell Brunson at the time. .com secrets, my friends. Anyway, long story short, I finally had to move. I needed to change my environment. It was not healthy for me to continue living with my mother. And I had to change my environment to actually start stepping into more personal growth for myself. So I was feeling stuck. I was feeling paralyzed. I felt like there was nothing for me in the town I was living in. And I finally took that step to make my move because that was the one thing that I needed. So sometimes that is true. Getting out of a toxic relationship, moving out of that environment,
No doubt, because all of those things create more pushback, more challenge.
Thank you.
Like it's more headwind, right? And if you've ever tried to run or ride a bike into a significant headwind, it doesn't feel like you're really going anywhere, but you're putting out a lot of effort.
Spinning.
And that's where developing like this bulletproof mindset, where the thing that's in your head probably isn't real.
Right.
It's just the way you feel right now. And I know we're going to talk about
yes, we are
the feeling part, right?
Yeah.
Past the 90 seconds. But the thing that just interests me is the concept that you are who you think you are, right? And so if you are in a situation, maybe it's a toxic relationship, but when you're focusing on that, you notice it gets more toxic and you feel worse, and it gets more toxic and you feel worse. Whereas thinking positive thoughts, like starting to think beyond the relationship, right? Like, so it's clear this isn't working out. What's beyond the relationship? And instead of painting it as being scary, painting it as being opportunity, you'd be like, this relationship's over, right? Like, here's why, and you move on.
And that's very true. But the thing of it is, it's like, for those who are listening to this, it's so easy to glaze over that. It's so
for sure.
easy to listen to that, to hear you say that. It's like, yeah, I know that. But it's so hard when you're in it. I know. I mean, big changes start with one small move. And that is reality. Taking action, even if it's imperfect, is all you can do. When I moved to Hawaii the first time, it wasn't like, hey, I had a lot of money. I just went and got an ohana, or paid for a condo. It wasn't perfect. I was like staying with a friend who was like a brand new friend who turned into like my Hanaya mother, and then it was like renting her ohana downstairs. And then it was like she had to rent that. And then I was living with her upstairs. And it was not perfect. It was like not the perfect situation. Then I ended up on a sofa in an office. I mean, it was just like,
But I listened to it and it was the perfect situation, right? And that's
it can turn into it. Yeah.
Because
You
it
don't
had to
know.
be perfect because that's the way it went.
It just went that way. I mean, literally, you should have seen the car that I was renting, which was like a friend of hers that had a car available. The seatbelts didn't even work. And I had to drive down the road and like hold the seatbelt on the side. And I worked like 40 minutes away from town. So it was like this long drive. So it's just, anyway. But I guess the key takeaway here is identify one thing that you can do today to make a small step in the right direction, even if it's making the decision to say, hey, I need to make the decision to make my life better and set this deadline, and don't just glaze over it to have it another year or 2 years. Even if it's sending out the email or picking up the phone call or having that awkward conversation. And Dave and I have been there so many times. We have had like the awkward conversations. So awkward. I mean, so awkward, my friends, even on virtual Zoom calls. It's been super awkward, but we've done it. So I think that's my big takeaway, is keep the momentum on something that you're feeling like you should be going in a different direction. Do that. Follow that. Yeah. So
Number three,
I want to help you reframe the challenge as an opportunity for strength, because when life knocks you down, you have two choices. You can see it as proof that the world is unfair, or you can see it as an opportunity to grow stronger. And some of the most resilient people in history didn't just survive, they actually used it to build something greater. And again, science backs this up when I checked out Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor and psychiatrist, that found that people who assigned meaning to their suffering, had higher survival rates in concentration camps.
And his book's called The Meaning of Life.
The Man's Search for Meaning.
Yeah.
The Man's
Search
Search
for Meaning.
Yeah, and that explains the ability to reframe hardship into purpose, to really what keeps people going even in the darkest times. That's a really big book. It's incredible. Please check it out. Yeah, Viktor Frankl.
The Meaning of Life. Was that a Monty Python movie? Okay, I'm dating myself.
So anyway, I mean, it is important that, you may not get to choose what happens to you, but you do get to choose what meaning you assign to it. We had in episode 51, an incredible woman named Taruna Ramani share her personal story about what she has been challenged with in her life. And her story is incredible. Check out her story. I mean, talk about building resilience and then creating a movement beyond that. I didn't even know when she told me that hope is a skill set. I was like, what? I thought hope is just like, hey, I have hope, think life is going good. And I was like, what? You have to build hope? I didn't even know that. It was a game changer for me. What a great episode. So it's something that could help, you when you're in a stuck spot looking for that HOPE. Yeah, hope.
And people always tell you to think positive.
Yes.
It's actually pretty good advice,
It
right?
is,
Because the truth is, if you even fake it, right? You fake your thinking positive, and you fake that smile, it changes your DNA, and you actually start to move out of that stuckness towards something more positive, right?
And I was just going to say,
there is a little bit of truth to fake it till you make it.
It is. Fake it till you make it. It is good. But I want to take it one step further, because it's not just thinking about being positive. It's showing up positive. Like, I was not in a great mood the other day. I didn't sleep and I had to get up. I had a ton of stuff going on a Monday. And you know what I did is I did the action steps to make me feel better about myself. I got up, I got dressed, I did my hair. I wasn't in a sweatshirt and hat like I'm normally am sitting at my desk creating content and working. But I mean, I did the thing that made me feel better. Got outside, got on a walk or run, whatever it was. So it's important to actually take action to go do the things that make you feel better. If it's going to make you feel better to go for a drive, go to a coffee shop, go meet up with a friend, like do those things to help you get unstuck. Because when life feels impossible, it is hard. And it is hard to say, you have to like Dave, we have been through so many times where it's like both of us are kind of down. And I know like, hey, you know what? Let's just get out of the house and like go to the store. Let's just go to the store. Maybe the cashier will have a little positive vibe for us, anybody.
Or at least just change the setting.
Yeah.
Maybe
the venue.
Dump the bucket and leave whatever that is behind.
Yeah.
And move on. It does help, right?
Now, the last one, number 4, is the aha moment, because this is use the 90-second rule. And this is how to reset your mindset. And I really looked into this. I was very curious. Now, failure doesn't actually last forever. It doesn't. But the way you think about it can. You can go years and years and years thinking that failure is in my life. Neuroscience now shows us that emotions, when left unfueled by thoughts, last only 90 seconds. After that, we're the ones keeping them alive by replaying them in this situation over and over and over and over in our heads. So if you can master this 90-second reset, you can break the cycle of dwelling on the you-know-what that's shifting toward action. Now, science backs this up. I read a study it's called Annals of the New York Academy of Sciences. I'm not sure if I said that, ANNALS. Annals
that
of
is
the
correct.
Annals of the New York Academy of Sciences found that our brains are wired for fairness and cooperation, meaning we naturally react negatively to perceived failures or injustices. But the same study shows that rewiring your perception, your perspective, through intentional thought shifts can significantly improve your emotional resilience. So when I was down the other day and I got up and I'm like, oh my God, I've had no sleep. There's so many things for me to do today. I've got to meet my team. I've got appointments and all this. I was like, I'm just going to do the things in the morning that make me feel good. Put on good music, do my hair and makeup, put on the clothes that make me feel good. I was actually starting to shift in that 90 seconds. I was feeling not well to starting to take some action to improve my brain emotional intelligence better. That's incredible.
It's incredible. And, one of my mentors used to call it flip the switch, right?
Right.
And, he was a sales mentor, and he would say, no matter where you are, in your life, where you are in your day, when you walk through that front door, you got to flip the switch, right?
Hard.
And you got to go from being whatever was behind you to serving the people that are in front of you. And, he would go from here to, hi, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
My name's Jim, and go into his deal.
We were just watching some episodes. I think it was like a couple of months ago on the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. Same thing. I mean, these girls some of them have full-time jobs. They're orthodontic, they work in medical, or they're a coach or whatever it is. And then they are switching gears at 7:00 at night, putting on a different mask and showing up as a DCC. And they're stepping into a different world with, man, you better show up for success and you have the energy. You better flip the switch. Your eyes, makeup, all that, the way you showed up, your attitude, how you're engaging with other people around you. That day that you just had, 9 hours ago is over. You are now embracing a new sector of the next 5 hours of your life with the DCC. That's amazing.
And I always think it's amazing to watch actors.
Actresses
100%. Work, right? Because you walk in and you flip the switch and the director says, actually toggle the switch or dim the switch or punch it up over and over. And you have to do it so quickly, right? Flip that switch and become someone completely different, at the snap of a finger.
Well, I think the way you think about failure determines how you stay stuck in it. And that's the big key takeaway here. So I hope that this conversation with Dave and I has really opened your mind, because that 90-second rule is how you can break free from just replaying and overanalyzing the thing that's going over and over and over in your head. And it's stopping you from moving forward, honestly.
And let's break down the 90 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think we explain that completely. And this is the entire premise for Joe Dispenza, right?
100%.
And so when emotions come up, they're biological. There's nothing you can do about them. They hit your reptilian brain, right?
100%.
And it comes out, but that period of time only lasts an average of about 90 seconds, right? And after 90 seconds, it shifts from a biological reaction, to this refractory period where it becomes choice, right? And it almost becomes your choice. Are you going to be pissed off for a minute? Are you going to be pissed off for an hour, a day, a week, right? You can be angry long enough that it just becomes your personality. And
well, it's taking that thought and replaying it over and over and over and over. So now, now that you all know that it's only 90 seconds, when an emotion comes up, it's like a volcano. So it's like, boom, it comes up, it fills up, you have it, and then it's like,
yeah, it's like a dog snapping at you, right?
Yeah,
the dog
it's like,
snaps you and then he
okay.
goes back to napping and you're like, what was that all about?
Or
Why
your
is he not-
kid.
why is he still not angry, you know?
Or your toddler at home that, had a fit and then they're like back to playing the games, So exactly.
Right, with kids you can always see it too, right? Sometimes little kids,
Yeah.
they'll like play it off. They'll look at you, and if if they've fallen down and they're like, I don't know if that was bad, and then you're like, oh, and they're like, oh yeah, okay, it was bad.
Yeah, it was bad. It's so true.
It's funny. We learn as little animals early.
Well, hopefully that 90 seconds really opened up for you, because next time you're caught in that negative thinking, set a timer. Click your watch. Use your phone. Feel the emotion fully, go all in, and then decide what happens next.
I love that too. That is actually one of the best pieces of advice that I've ever heard from someone else, and now I've heard it from you. But literally, I'll try when I'm going through some negative space to say, okay, I'm going to go through this until 2:00, right? And then
Flip the switch.
At 2:00. Like, all right, that was over.
You're like,
right?
okay, that's done. We're not doing that anymore. So final thoughts, failure isn't the end. It's a decision, and, you choose whether you want, how it defines you or refines you. So, takeaways here, recapping here, accept where you're at, but don't stay there. Take one small move forward. Don't overthink. Reframe challenges as fuel for growth, and use the 90-second rule to break free. Set that timer, kill the negative loops, right? So the challenge here is take the past failures, rewrite the lessons. If something's looping in our head, share it with us, by the way. You can always hit #NoFailureFilter and tag us. We want to hear your turning setbacks into comebacks. That's important. And as always, we want to help inspire you to continue moving forward. So let's take this home, Dave. If you take one thing from today's episode, let's do this. Failure is not the end. It's just a plot and twist to your story, And guess what? You're the author of your story. So stop letting setbacks define you and start using them to refine you. Here's your challenge. Take one past failure, that one big, small win. Like I just said, learn from it, share it with us, tag us, normalize it, that it's growth. It's not failure. It is like the next step in your success. And hey, if this episode hit home, do us a favor and share it. Subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who maybe needs to hear this today, because you never know whose life you might change along by just passing along this episode of David and I laughing and being crazy with you, but being authentic selves. Thank you for being here. Thank you for showing up for yourself today and proving that no matter what life throws at you, you always have the power to rise above it. You have the choice. Listen to episode 51 if you want a little more inspiration from our guest, Taruna Ramani. She did just that. Man, I remember her story in bed and choosing a whole different life business while she was going through a terrible disease. So it's pretty incredible.
And I'm just going to say, reach out to me if you can figure out a way to go back in the past and change the trajectory of whatever happened to create failure, because you'll be incredibly rich and I'll be incredibly thankful. But the thing is, that's not ever going to happen, I don't think, in my lifetime, where we can go back in the past and change the trajectory of something. And so think of it as the experience you had. That's the way it happened. And don't frame it as failure. And stop thinking about, like, that's going to happen in the future, because you have no idea what's going to happen in the future, right? There's greatness out there for you.
All around us.
But the more you focus on taking that past result that you frame as a failure and projecting it into the future, you're going to get more of that. And if that's the life you want or the life you choose, cool. But if that's not, and you want to pivot, you're going to have to work at it, and it's a muscle. And it's a muscle just like running or lifting weights or anything else in life that is worthwhile.
come hang out with us. Come join one of our live sessions. We would love to meet you, share with us, tag us out there on Instagram, LinkedIn, wherever. Let's wrap it up. Dave, let these folks go.
Yeah, because I'm hungry.
You are my friend, and you are my friend listening to this. And as always, we want to remind you to keep chasing horizons, fueling those embers inside you. And we are sending you our biggest aloha.